Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
That's right. I will be your co-host today. My name is Mike Piwowarski, coming to you from the East Coast. That's the coast with the most, from the co-host with the most here on the Rundown. 2A News, conservative views. And Craig, I know it's election day, but you know what else today is?
Oh, yes, I do.
It's raining tacos from out of the sky. Tacos, no need to ask why. Just open your mouth and close your eyes. It's raining tacos. It's raining tacos out in the street. Tacos, all you can eat. Lettuce and shells, cheese and meat. It's raining tacos. Yum, 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 yummity yum. It's like a treat.
There you go, folks. That's it. It is Taco Tuesday. And you know what kind of tacos I'm looking forward to today? Victory tacos.
Freedom tacos.
Freedom
Did you say
tacos. That's right. That's
Freedom
right.
tacos.
We're going to have some freedom tacos today as America will hopefully, God willing, if all of us do our jobs, show up to the polls, many parts of America will be set free from liberalism today.
That's the plan. You know, watching all the polling numbers, it's very, very promising.
Well, you know, what's interesting is even the polling numbers in California in some places are not looking very good for the left, which, by the way, is odd because normally the red wave stops right there at the Sierras.
Yeah, it looks like you might have some interesting results coming out of California. Let's say that.
Well, we are definitely hoping so. We are definitely hoping so. I don't know. I'm always cautiously optimistic. My number one thing is, hey, let's just do our job. Show up, vote. I know we have 6 Republican votes in our household. So I know that we're going to do our part in the DeLuz household to make sure that things are done right.
Yeah, I know so far in Florida. Now, again, there's nothing, it's only 5:00, so there's no poll results out yet, actual, election poll results out yet. But the numbers going into it said 5 million so far early voted. And the really encouraging fact is that the Republicans have outpaced the Democrats by a 300,000 margin.
Well, and I will just say this. Now I'm like, okay, well, I don't mind getting my ballot early so that I can have it available and think about it. I generally, unless I have to, I don't vote early because you never know what's going to come up like a week or two before the election. I remember that one year where in California where a bunch of the Republicans dropped out of the primary because they didn't have a shot. And I know there were a bunch of people who voted early, and it turns out, well, guess what? You didn't get to your vote didn't really count because you voted for someone who wasn't running anymore.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, it's encouraging here because, like I said, normally Democrats far outpace the Republicans in early voting, but not this year. This year, it's the Republicans turned it on.
And so you guys know, because a lot of people have to go, Republicans talk bad about mail-in voting. Republicans had issues with places that instituted mail-in voting that had not been doing it before and weren't experienced in it. They had issues in places doing mail-in voting where there was very little, if any, attempt to verify that the person was who they said they were, that they weren't just sending ballots off to people in general, which, by the way, is exactly what California does. I mean, there are people there was one guy who already reported, got 3 ballots from 2 different counties. So we already know that the California voting system is all jacked up, right? We don't know how many people are voting who are not supposed to be. We know that they register to vote people who aren't even U.S. citizens. So we know this all already. So, but that's who Republicans have kind of had issues. Those states are the ones where they're like, look, you need to fix your vote by mail system. But we're starting to get too much into the news. We've got to make sure that we hit up our sponsors and let you guys know about them.
That's right. It's let's say hello to our good friends at Hitman Industries. That's hitmanindustries.net, hitmanindustries.net. If you got yourself an AR in the past couple of years, you probably got one of their barrels, don't even know it. Well, now you can go buy direct for your next build or to rebarrel your current rifle. That's hitmanindustries.net. Let's say hello to our good friends at the California Republican Assembly. Woo, Craig, they're working their butts off. I bet tomorrow they might even take a day off over there at California Republican Assembly. Check them out if you're in California and see where you should be placing your votes. And then, of course, our good friends over at uscombatgear.com. Go get you some of the world's finest tactical gear.
That's right, Mike. We just want to remind folks, look, for those of you in California, if you want the red wave to mean something, by the way, that means especially make sure you're voting for the Republican wing of the Republican Party. You want to go to CRAGOP.org. That's CRAGOP.org. You can click on the endorsements tab and see exactly how the conservatives in California are voting. Once again, the Republican wing of the Republican Party. So make sure you guys check them out. Also, make sure you check out all of our sponsors. Folks, they're the ones who make it possible for us to come to you. So do us a favor, go to them. The links to their websites are in the description to this program. Check them out. Let them know that the guys over at The Rundown sent you.
Yeah. Let me say this,
if you haven't
Greg.
already done so, please make sure, like, share, subscribe.
Let me say this. It's only just after 5 p.m. here on the East Coast, so it's 2 p.m. out west. If you're watching us right now, here's what I'm going to tell you. Walk away. And you haven't voted, walk away. Go vote. You can come back and watch the replay later. Go vote. Go vote. That's the priority.
I firmly and most impassionately endorse that comment. I'm down with that. I'm definitely down with that. Yeah, please make sure, if you haven't already voted, go vote. Like in California right now, if you wait until after work, it's going to be busy. You also probably already have your ballot in your hand, right? All you got to do is fill it out and then take it to your local. It is so easy that, if you're on Facebook, Facebook will tell you where your local drop-off place can be. But whatever you do, make sure you do it. Make sure you get it done. Then come back and watch and enjoy the program as we celebrate the election results.
There you go.
All right, let's go ahead and move into our news topics. We're going to start the first one. The reason why I made this one first, the reason why I wanted this one to be first is because, folks, this is evidence number one that elections have consequences, right? If it were not for the election of Donald Trump in 2016, we would not have New York Rifle and Pistol v. Bruen, which is probably the biggest landmark decision dealing with our Second Amendment rights. I wouldn't say, it's kind of hard to say since Heller and McDonald, because the problem was the courts to a large degree tried to ignore Heller and McDonald. But here's what's happening. As they are trying, as the politicians are trying to ignore New York Rifle and Pistol, guess what? They're not able to, because now we're starting to see the courts are standing up and saying, oh, no, you don't get to do that. That's what happened right now. So we know that right after Bruen passed, or not Bruen, after New York Rifle and Pistol passed, we know that the New York went and passed a bunch of laws changing their carry laws, and now a judge has suspended. We already know that part of it was already suspended. The whole sensitive places, in particular the places, churches, places of worship, the ban on places of worship. Well, now a judge has suspended the New York gun rules amid legal challenge. Now, what they got in this was a temporary injunction. Now, a judge will generally only issue a temporary injunction if they believe that the person requesting the injunction is likely to win, right? So, in other words, unless something really major, really big changes in the briefings and the whatnot that they submit, there's a very good chance that these things are going to be just flat out shot down. Mike, am I wrong though? Is this or is this not just evidence that elections have consequences?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, and this is great news, for New York. For those that want to actually exercise their Second Amendment rights, especially now after the Bruen decision. It is a slap down to the politicians there, including the current governor saying that listen, you can't just continue to go around and violating the Constitution and the Supreme Court. So it's good, at this point, Craig, and folks, again, if you're in New York, please check with your local officials there on all of this. Don't just read the newspapers or the internet. But now they've taken away like 90% of all those sensitive areas that came out in their law. So at this point, according to at least the story and the information we've seen, says sensitive places like schools and voting places, the traditional sensitive places, are all that were left standing in the law. So all of those other places that made it extremely difficult for you to exercise your Second Amendment rights are now being put on hold by this judge, so they cannot be enforced.
Right. And use this as motivation, because here's the thing, folks. Even though we're not changing over the presidency, the Senate is at risk, right? And guess who approves judges? I'll give you one guess. It's the Senate.
Yeah. Yep.
Come on. I gave you the answer. You guys couldn't get it?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Listen, and also the other thing that was struck down today under the injunction was that, the moral turpitude clause, that you have to, or the moral character clause, that you have to provide all your social media access, names of friends and relatives and employers and all that. No, all that's gone. All that's gone now as well. Right.
And by the way, you folks know all of this has been introduced in other places. It was introduced in California. It's introduced. They're basically trying to thumb their nose at the justice system, at the Supreme Court. And I just think it's interesting that these cases are being heard so quickly and being shot down so quickly. I mean, we're talking. I mean, when was the decision? I mean, we're talking. This was just a couple of months ago. The decision was made at the Supreme Court, and now all of a sudden we're already seeing laws being passed and being shot down at the same time.
No, yeah, because listen, under Heller and McDonald, we waited years and years to get some of those rulings out. We're still hearing stuff, coming out, reference Heller, but now, like you said, it's been a tidal wave of these rulings coming out just since June.
Yeah, so I'm sure we have a lot of really good and exciting rulings that will be coming up. So stay tuned. Let me just put it to you that way. Stay tuned. Yeah. And to that end, I think it's important that we recognize that there is an election and that there is stuff still going on at the polls, and that many people do still show up on election day to actually either to vote or to drop off their ballots. Well, the Department of Justice has said that they are sending out they're calling them monitors, right? I think they're sending out people to intimidate people in various Republican states, because those are the only ones that, by the way, that they're sending these poll watchers to are Republican states, in order to basically, in my opinion, affect people or scare people at the polls. Now, little do they know the Republicans are not easily scared by their Democrat DOJ Gestapo. Who will be showing up to try and intimidate them from actually being able to vote. But Mike, I believe this is in part of their whole attempt to claim that the elections were stolen, because we already know they're already talking about the 2020-22 elections. They're already denying that Republicans are winning. Even though all of the polls show that we're winning. We already know Stacey Abrams is already saying that the election has been stolen because they're suppressing the vote, despite record voter turnout there in Georgia. But I think all of this, once again, is being done in order to find a way to decertify or delegitimize the Republican victory that's about to happen.
Yeah, agreed. Listen, all of these DOJ monitors should be wearing Dale Earnhardt #3 shirts, because they're all out there as the intimidator. That's what they're trying to do to everybody. It's trying to lay pressure on those people voting, trying to lay pressure on those people in the polling places, because again, like you said, they're already rounding out their arguments for tonight and tomorrow. That it's your new laws, even though, like you just said, Craig, record numbers now turning out under the new laws, but they're going to say that was still voter intimidation.
Well, what's funny is that they're like, well, Of course, they're like, of course there's record numbers of people showing up because they don't want Republicans to steal the election. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, there's record numbers of people who are showing up because Republicans are now embracing the fact that, you know what, this is the system we have. So if we're going to be voting early, then let's make sure we get our ballots in.
It's not stealing the election if more of the Republican Party shows up than the Democrat Party to vote. It is stealing the election if, I don't know, thousands of votes show up in a suitcase underneath the table and get scanned in after midnight when the building's closed.
Right. Well, and I've yet to hear a sufficient explanation of that, although I do know that they have offered explanations of that.
Sure they do. Sure they do. Yeah.
In the end, and I will continue to make the point, if it's not close, they can't cheat. And one of the reasons why it's not going to be close this time, in most cases, is because there is a clear distinction of which party stands for what. And even Democrats, mainstream Democrats, you listen to some of the consultants, they'll tell you, Democrats did not listen to voters. Voters said the economy. They said crime. They said our wide open southern border. They said education. These were the things that they said were important. Meanwhile, the Democrats said abortion and January 6th. And mean orange man tweets. We don't want people who like him. That's what they said was important. And I think the voters are going to let them know that, nah. Now, the problem, Mike, is that the people who are coming up to replace these Democrats, they're even worse. I mean, they're so far to the left. They are, and I feel very comfortable calling them Marxist socialists. They're the up-and-comers in the Democratic Party.
Yeah, they absolutely are. And again, we went from, let's even go back to just the 80s, like what we know what the Democrats stood for and what the Republicans stood for, whereas the Democrats continue to go down that far, far, far left, path. Republicans, we had a little, Tea Party, come around, and then we've had the new MAGA, movement, and that's really just, reiterating the core conservative principles. It hasn't been that journey. The mainstream has not gone down that journey to the far, far right, unlike the Democrats to the far, far left.
Well, no, things like believing that there are two genders is considered extremist. That that males are males and females are females. That's considered to be extremist. Believing that our books about fisting should not be in our public school libraries. That is considered to be extremist. Believing that just because you are white, you are not racist is considered to be extremist now. I mean, I don't think the average like far leftist gets exactly how far off kilter, how far they have gotten away from just basic common sense.
Yeah, my favorite is that if you're a parent, you have no right to how your child receives his education.
Oh yeah. No, exactly. But that's what they think now.
Yeah.
And that is the reason why they're being voted out. So let's see. Will they get their thinking right, or will they become more successful in brainwashing the rest of America? I don't know yet.
Yeah. Well, we know that's their plan, right? We know that that's to get to the children quick. That's the whole reason that they don't want you involved in your children's education, so they can continue to brainwash your child.
Exactly. All right. So moving right along. All right. So Mike, I missed the original story about Facebook. There was a story where they were talking about how the White House, or how Facebook actually created a special portal where people with government email addresses could actually go in and have posts censored, right? In other words, they're making it so that they can censor. Now, the White House right now is denying that they're like, oh no, the White House, we're not using Facebook censorship portal, right? But Jen Psaki, the communications or the White House press secretary before what's her name, Jean-Pierre KJP, before her said, oh yeah, no, we're flagging posts. Wait, where's that? Right here. Because Jen Psaki said from the podium in the summer of 2021, we're flagging problematic posts for Facebook that spread disinformation. And that was from Real Clear Politics. In other words, they specifically were flagging posts. And so he asked Jean-Pierre, can you tell us whether the White House is still flagging social media posts for disinformation? And are you submitting those to Facebook through a special portal? Now, Mike, hold on, wait, let me go here. So here's the Facebook portal right here. So this is the portal where basically you can go in and you can request that a post be removed for disinformation. And now we know that the White House has been involved in directly censoring folks. And by the way, this is just what we know about Facebook. This doesn't even include, we also know that the White House and various different agencies have been in direct communication by phone calls, by text, and via email with folks over at Twitter. And we're also involved in censoring content on that platform. Now, these are two, and we still don't know, and I'm sure there's a bunch of stuff out there. We don't even know what they were doing with Google. So these are the three of the largest information platforms out there, Mike, and we now know that the administration, the government, was involved in censorship. And some of the stuff that they were censoring, we now know they were censoring stuff that was in fact true.
Oh, absolutely. And listen, first off, I appreciate any time you bring up, Jen Psaki. You know that. So Jen, come on, hook a brother up. Give me a call. You know the number. It's been too long. So we know, Craig, that they're lying. I mean, here it is. You've got one press secretary saying one thing. We had the president say it at one point that this was occurring. And now you have, well, he said it through, his press secretary. And now you have the current press secretary denying everything. I guess it just wasn't in her binder, but we know the facts, unless they're telling us that they lied then. So, Craig, now the question is, were they lying then or are they lying now? And we know that what they were doing was attempting to oppress the right sides, the conservative side's viewpoint. That's what they've continued to do. They continue to take away the First Amendment rights of those that oppose them.
And just so you understand, folks, I get it. These are private companies. But when the government, when you start engaging in censorship at the behest or the cajoling of, or working with government to censor speech, it's no longer just a private company. It now expands now into government censorship, and it becomes a serious constitutional problem. And it is just, I think that we're still starting to see law that is going to eventually come out on the side of the people, because this is just not right. In particular, because here's what's happening, folks. These entities are affecting elections. I firmly believe that the election of 2020 election would not have been close, or we would have had a different outcome, despite the other stuff. We would have had a different outcome had we not had the level of censorship that Google, Facebook, and Twitter were engaged in working with the left.
Yeah, listen, that the Facebook, the Twitter, the Google, they might all be private companies, but I'm sorry. Just because you're a private company doesn't mean you get to violate people's rights. Especially when they're acting on the behest of the government, like as we know that they've been doing. We see that the government's taking out ads with them as well, whether that be the individual candidates or the government itself. Craig, you can't be denied a flight on an airline because you're of your political views, if your religion, of your sexual orientation, of your race. This is the same thing. This is, imagine trying to go to the supermarket and being told, no, we don't serve your kind here. This is what you're being told on these places. These have become, like we said yesterday, these have become the virtual town squares. Once they become and reach that certain point, everybody has equal access. That's all there is to it.
But Mike, the one thing is, political perspective is not considered a protected class. You're right when it comes to gender. When it comes to, even now, they've expanded it to include gender identity. But when you start talking religion, you start talking race, these are all what are considered suspect classes or protected classes. Being a conservative is not considered being a protected class. And that's why they feel like, in general, they feel like they can censor speech. They can, on their private platform, decide what they want to allow on their platform and what they don't want to allow on their platform.
But they're hiding
once
behind.
It becomes at the behest of the government. Now all of a sudden, it then becomes officially censorship.
Right, but they're hiding behind the misuse of these labels, Craig. So if I say to you, Christian, older, so age and white, if I use those labels, you're talking about, for the most part, a conservative person, right? Instead of saying, an old fat white guy that's an NRA member, they could say, "Oh no, we didn't discriminate for that. We discriminated, or we won't discriminate under gender, race, sexual orientation." But that's exactly what they do. They just go after another title that they sit under that's not protected. We know that those people are going to sit under these certain classes, and they're still discriminating against them.
Yeah, it's a lot harder. It's a lot harder to prove. But yeah, we pretty much know that's kind of what they're doing. Although if you're old, white, and liberal, you don't get censored, unless you say something bad about a person of color. I mean, it depends on where you are on the level, your intersectionality scale.
Right.
No, we definitely know that they're discriminating in favor of speech. And like I said, the big thing here is, number one, the fact that they're lying about it makes a big deal, because they're saying that's misinformation, but we're already proven that in many of these cases, it has nothing to do with misinformation. I mean, we lost a YouTube channel for saying things that we now know are true.
Yep.
We lost a YouTube channel because of it. So that is indisputable now at this point. But the other thing is that these folks are now impacting elections, and this, at the very least, needs to be considered a political in-kind contribution. When you are now throttling or censoring someone's political opposition, that's a donation to the person, to the other side, and that ought to be reported.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. But again, it's what's the old saying? You can't fight City Hall. Well, City Hall right now saying it's okay to do so.
Right. Moving right along, this next one is really interesting to me, because I remember, Mike, and you and I have talked about this more than once. We talked about this in the primaries, when Democrats actually started spending money to support Republican candidates that they thought were sure to lose. And many of these were, in fact, Donald Trump supported MAGA candidates, right? These are candidates who they were like, well, these are going to be the easiest candidates to beat if they were to make it to the general election. Well, now they're finding that these candidates, they're giving them a bit of a problem. And these are just some of the races that they actually played a role in. I mean, they spent millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars supporting MAGA candidates. Now here you have, for example, you have Republican Joe Gibbs, who is right now doing really well. And right now, according to this, and this, by the way, this article here was several weeks ago, but this race has closed. Joe Gibbs has actually closed to where he is close to the margin of error. Don Bolduc, he's a general. His race is actually a dead heat, and he's actually slightly ahead. Doug Mastriano is within the margin of victory, Darren Bailey, and this doesn't even include the governor's race there in Arizona. It does not include the Senate race there in Arizona. Mike, what they are finding is that they were so out of touch, Democrats, that they thought that, if we just put up the most extremist, quote unquote, extremist conservative Republican, that, they'll have to vote for our socialist Marxist Democratic candidates. And they're finding that people aren't buying that one.
Yeah, Craig, like we said, we've been watching this for a little while, been talking about this for a little while, but yeah, absolutely. Again, their most well-laid plans have backfired on them, and we'll have further proof of that by the time we sit down tomorrow and have the show. That this is their plans. This is their foresight. It just proves they're out of touch. They're out of touch completely. They're in touch with the party and that's it. Not with the people inside the party. You know, it's whatever the party head, whatever the DNC says, whatever the party headquarters says. That's what they're coming up with these great ideas. We've continued to see them be spouted off by people like Kathy Hochul and Stacey Abrams when they come up with these most ridiculous things in the world, and they think, oh well, that works. Let's go with that. They're absolutely out of touch with what the average American wants.
Well, and once again, that's why we are so excited to see this red wave. Once again, hopefully it'll make its way into the western states of Washington State, where we actually have a chance of electing a Republican. I believe Oregon there's a race there where they got a shot of electing a Republican. It's going to definitely be interesting. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to our parting shots. And I think if there was ever a message that, you know what? First, I'm gonna do the printed ones first, and then we'll do the video, because I want everyone to make sure that they get a chance to see the Biden one. But I want to close on that note. So our first parting shot has to do with Twitter, and as you know, Elon Musk has talked about, after the election and everything, about requiring those with the blue check mark to actually have to pay a certain amount, $8, in order to keep their blue check mark. And there's been a lot of controversy about that. So he's come up with an amendment to it. And his amendment is basically that, for users with they, them, right, pronouns in their bio are going to have to pay $16, $24, or $32 for verification instead of $8, depending on how many people they identify as.
Very nice. Very nice.
And notice that says not Elon Musk, parody of Elon. So just so y'all know, that is a legal account right there. And no, it was not Elon.
Yeah. If you want to impersonate Elon, go right ahead. You'll be the assistant chief fry cook at McDonald's.
Right. Now this next one is this next one is also election related. Or this one is election related. Actually, no, wait. I'm not going to do that one yet. I'm going to do the other one because I found this one to be hilarious. This is actually for you, Mike, and for our good friend Rick Ector, who runs Legally Armed in Detroit. You want to go ahead and read this one for us?
Sure. So said, I was in Florida and I saw a bumper sticker on a parked car that read, "I miss Detroit." So I broke the window, stole the radio, and left a note that said, "I hope this helps."
Yeah, Rick, that one was for you. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it cracked me up. All right, now we're going to get into our election-related. Posts. Now, Mike, there's actually several things that are very interesting going on today. The first, obviously, is Election Day, where we're hoping that the nation goes red. It's also Taco Tuesday. But there's one other special thing that is going to be occurring this evening. What is that?
Oh, we have the red moon tonight.
We do. We have the red moon, which then tells you, which I think is a sign, that even the moon is turning red on November 8th. Here's your sign.
There you go.
All right. This last election-related one, Joe Biden is out with a powerful new commercial. And this was created in order to help you to understand what he wants to continue to do over the next 2 to 6 years as president of the United States. But in order to do that, he feels he's going to need your support. He's going to need you to help elect Democrats to continue to hold Congress. So here's his pitch: why you should support Joe Biden's candidates.
16, America entered a time of darkness. We elected an orange man who was literally Hitler, and the entire country suffered under his rule. But then, America was saved. Embraced by the loving arms of our new president, Joe Biden. Biden has brought back kindness and decorum.
Liar, man. Look, here's the deal.
No, I wish you were in high school. I could take him behind the gym.
Biden is a voice of clarity.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to
A voice of reason.
He is the smartest man I know.
They're gonna put you all back in chains.
And he's good with numbers.
Let me start off with 2 words. Made in America.
700 billion and $1.3 trillion.
Under his leadership, the Biden administration has brought us safety. It has brought us economic prosperity. It has empowered the next generation. And now, you have the chance to make sure it continues for another 2 years. This election day, vote for whoever the Biden administration is asking you to vote for. They know what's best. Together, we will ensure things will continue to go the way they've been going forever and ever.
I'm Joe Biden and I approve this, wait, who? You know the thing. Lexus Rent.
Folks, that was brought to you by the Babylon Bee. The funny part about it is that's the choice.
Out there, that's a parody. Yeah, for you censors, that's a parody. Okay.
Yes, that's parody. But once again, is that or is that not the choice?
Yeah, that's your choice. Yeah,
that
fell down 3 times going up the stairs. Up the stairs. Yeah.
It takes real talent to fall upstairs. Let me tell you.
We do know his butt's been wiped, so that's been yeah.
All right, Mike, it's about that time. How about a quick shout out to the sponsors?
Let's say hey to our good friends over at the Hitman Industries, hitmanindustries.net. Make sure you go over there, get all your AR barrel needs, rifle and pistol caliber barrels and lengths available. Hitmanindustries.net. The California Republican Assembly working their butts off. Let's see what the payoff is for them today. Make sure you check out the California Republican Assembly if you're in California there or anywhere else. You want to see what they're doing over there. And then, of course, you want some awesome combat gear, tactical gear, web gear. Hit up our good friends at uscombatgear.com.
That's right. These are the folks who bring us to you so that we can bring you to them. So go visit them. Follow the links in the description to this program. And on that note, we're going to call it a day. We're looking forward to a celebration tomorrow on Hump Day, where we're going to be talking about the red wave that has swept over all of America. That's right. I'm calling California. There is going to be, there will be more Republican elected officials in California than before. Still not going to be the majority, but hey, I'll take the little sprinklings from the red wave, whatever I can get here in California. On that note, we're going to call it a day. Thank you so much for tuning in.